Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Perry, founder of the Alliance for Aging Research. Today, I am speaking with Dr. Jack Guralnik of the University of Maryland School of Medicine, where he is currently professor of epidemiology and public health. Jack also serves as chair of the Science Advisory Board of the Alliance's Aging in Motion, or AIM. That's an initiative of the Alliance to focus on sarcopenia and related loss of physical function with aging. Jack is one of the world's leading epidemiologists studying age-related changes in physical functioning and disability. I'm gratified to present Jack with the Founders Award of the Alliance. This is our recognition of an individual who is helping to change the paradigm for how we view aging and healthy aging as we grow older. Dr. Guralnik spent 25 years in epidemiology research at the National Institute on Aging. He was chief of the intramural division of epidemiology, demography, and biometry. Throughout his career, Jack has continued to receive numerous awards and citations, recognizing the significance of his contributions to science and health. These honors reflect the tremendous respect in which he is held both by industry leaders, government, and his scientific peers. Jack and I have known each other for more than 30 years. In fact, one of the most significant efforts of the Alliance was to highlight an original study by Jack and by Dr. Ed Schneider, a former deputy director of the National Institute on Aging, that was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association in 1990. They analyzed available data and forecast startling increases in future healthcare costs due to the rapid aging of our population. More importantly, the Guralnik and Schneider team spoke out against efforts to ration healthcare services against the elderly and instead called for a huge new increase in biomedical research funding aimed at preventing and ameliorating age-related chronic disabilities. The Alliance orchestrated a press conference in the U.S. Capitol to draw attention to the U.S. policy implications of their important new research. Jack was a key speaker, along with prominent members of Congress, physicians, and a former cabinet secretary for health, Joseph Califano. The paper was later published and cited in over 1,000 scholarly journals around the world, and even more in the mainstream media. The Alliance continues to fight against healthcare rationing that disadvantages older Americans. One example is our recent work in continuing to oppose very strongly discriminatory practices of the Institute for Clinical and Economic Review, or ICER. Jack, please share with our guests, what is sarcopenia? And why is it so important for the mobility and well-being of people as they grow older?
Well, Dan, thank you for that introduction. It really is a great honor to receive this award. The word sarcopenia comes from the Greek roots sarx, which means flesh, and penia, which means poverty. So it's reduction in muscle mass that we see with aging. Now, we start losing muscle mass in our 30s, believe it or not. Slowly but surely, this loss of muscle accelerates. In some people, it accelerates a great deal, and that can result from specific chronic diseases like heart failure, diabetes, others. But also some people lose muscle mass for no apparent reason. And while we all are losing muscle as we age, for those who lose it more quickly, it can have really profound effects on the ability to function independently. Everything from simply opening a jar to climbing a set of steps is very much influenced by how much muscle we have.
One of the themes of our program this year, Heroes in Health, is strength. And that was chosen in large part to reflect your important work to help reduce the impact of physical frailty on older people. What role does strength play in healthy aging? And what advice can you give people who are listening to our discussion to help them stay stronger as they grow older?
Yeah, these are lots of very, very good questions. First of all, I was just talking about muscle mass. The relationship between muscle mass and strength, of course, is very important. Most of our strength decline comes from losing muscle, but there are other things that influence strength as well. We need to innervate the muscles with the peripheral nerves to stimulate them to contract. You need to deliver oxygen and nutrients to muscles. The biology of muscles has to work in a way that you get good, strong contraction. So while mass is important, there are other things going on, and it becomes a more complicated and more interesting issue of what affects strength. Maintaining strength, as you mentioned, is a really important factor in maintaining healthy aging. Now, it's pretty obvious what I'm going to say about how to stay strong, and that's what we hear over and over again. We have to keep exercising. We have to keep active. The simple approach does not have to use fancy equipment in a gym. You can use small weights that you have at home. Elastic bands are used in various strength training programs, and even simple things like rising from a chair and walking will contribute to strength.
That's great advice. And I know you have really laid down the strong scientific foundations underneath a lot of those recommendations that are now reflected by the NIA and others. But let's let our viewers and listeners know a little bit more about you. What sparked your interest early on in pursuing a career in science and research?
Well, I started out as a practicing physician, and I did a lot of work in public health. Decided to go back to public health school. I was working in California at the time and went back to the public health school at the University of California at Berkeley and studied epidemiology. I went back for a master's in public health. I got that degree and I just really loved epidemiology. I found it fascinating. I found it a way of asking and answering a lot of important questions, and decided to stay on and get a PhD in epidemiology before coming to the NIA, where, as you say, I spent many years.
What words of wisdom do you have for a young person who is looking at various fields and possibly considering that of aging research and even physical frailty? What would you say?
In giving advice to young people who are thinking about going into research in general, it's a difficult path. It's very challenging, but it can be incredibly satisfying. So if you feel like you're cut out for research, if you have that kind of innate fascination with science and trying to learn things that no one has ever learned before, research can just be satisfying and a lot of fun. I would say that people need to find a mentor or a group that they really love working with, so that they have a good working situation with a lot of support. Should work to develop collaborations. People in research should be generous. We collect a lot of data in our work, and some people kind of keep that data so close at hand that they never share it. Well, I find that sharing and being generous with what you have always comes back around to help you in the future. And then be strategic in your choices of where to go with your research. And this also involves using the people you've developed as a network and the people you work with to help you make really good decisions. And we hope that for a good portion of these younger people starting out, that a decision might be made to go into aging research. And for those who are thinking about it, we can now point to just some really exciting examples of where research that ranges from basic biology of aging all the way through clinical care and financial issues related to providing care. That whole range of research has really increased in its quality, and so that there are a lot of footsteps to follow and a lot of good people to work with. So I would tell younger people that are thinking about aging that this is a really great place to put your efforts in research.
Well, the older Americans of this country, thank you for that. And those that aspire to someday be old and to be healthy and active. Jack, I can't thank you enough for this dialogue, for the choices you've made in your career, for the contributions that you've made. And congratulations again on this most deserving and timely award. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Dan. And I am so pleased that this award is named after you. It really is a great honor for me.
Thank you, Jack.